Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday and welcome to another episode of Electricpreneur Secrets, the Electricians Podcast, where myself and Joseph, by the way, Joe, there's a story I need to insert here. Yesterday, for the first time ever, I let someone into our VIP Facebook group and I got to preview a comment that he was leaving on our page that hadn't been approved yet. And it said,
Mhm.
I love this podcast so much. You guys are helping me so much. Chad and Joe are just awesome guys that know the electrical trade. So it occurred to me that I need to say my name more consistently. So I'm your host, Clay Newmeyer. This is with me as always, Joseph Lucani, and we guys are here to help you master sales, simplify pricing, and deliver premium level electrical service. So to that, honestly, I say thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. And just a simple correction. Hi, I'm Clay. Not Chad, Clay, but thank you.
Run
Joe,
the
how are you
play,
doing?
Clay. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you got going on today, Joe? How are you feeling?
Oh, it is a beautiful day here, other than the fact that we're still fighting 90% humidity and high 80s, if not low 90s. We're all cooking here in New York, but otherwise, it is a beautiful day. I can't ask for better. At least it's not raining.
Are you still seeing our smoke?
Yes, it happens. It doesn't come consistently. It'll be one of those things where we'll wake up one morning and it'll be like, oh, there's fog. But then noon will come and the fog's not gone. And you're like, oh, this isn't smog. I got it. It's weird. When you're in New York, you're used to seeing smog, but you're not used to seeing smoke.
Yeah, totally. And for our Canadian listeners, I don't usually talk about politics, but I thought the real point the country was on fire was when our prime minister got reelected. Ah, sick
There you
burn.
go.
Deep. It's
Stitch in
deep.
something that only people north of the border can joke at, right?
There you go. All my American friends that listen to us are going, what the hell is a prime minister? It's like a president, guys. Less important, I guess.
Mhm.
Anyways, today we do have a more important topic than any politics. And it's talking about this exact problem, Joe. I
Mhm.
don't know what to do when the customer is staring at me while I'm coming up with options. Now,
Yeah.
having this problem assumes that we're trying to stay long enough to present options in person.
Mhm.
And we've talked about this in a few different angles, and we'll continue to till we're blue in the face because we really do want to present in person, right?
100%. That's the
So why
goal.
do we feel that pull? Why do so many run to the van then? Why are so many running back to the shop and emailing it
Mhm.
over? Emailing it over.
I know. I hate when do that. But the real reason, to the best of my understanding, is because when you're a technician without a process, you have to lead from the heart. That's all you have. There's nothing else that you have to follow. There's no play to run. It's simply, I'm going to enthusiastically offer my choices, and I'm going to hope to God that I present it in a way that the customer likes it. And I hope to God they don't shit on me and tell
Yeah.
me to leave and tell me I'm expensive and hurt my ego and let me lick my wounds as I walk out.
As you say that, I feel like you're pushing me out in the middle of a crosswalk on a red light in like a shopping cart.
Mm-hmm.
Here,
Just
sit
whispering,
here
go,
and
bye,
don't get hit.
Clay.
Don't get hit. Good luck. Have a good day. Can't wait to see you later.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, scary. My heart hurts for that person.
Mm-hmm. And it's true, because the thing is that that's why it's so important to have their process. So, with that being in mind, what's the mentality? The mentality is they go out and they don't want to get hurt. So, it's easy to say, I'm going to go to the van. Why? Because the customer won't see how nervous you are. And people are like, oh, I don't want to seem nervous. I don't want to seem like I don't know what I'm doing. So it feeds that even more. And then they're going to be like, well, just letting you know, I wrote up the estimate and I'm going to email it over to you. What's the email? I just want to make sure I get the email before I leave, because they don't want to have to entertain the conversation. Because if they do, the client might say no.
Right.
So if you don't do the presentation in front of the customer because you don't want to get hurt, you don't present because you don't want to get hurt. But the only thing that ends up getting hurt is your bank account because no one's buying.
And it works out good for the customer. I mean, other than you're in the van, so they're thinking, oh, good, he's just doing some rounding up out there.
Mm-hmm.
Got to find the
Mm-hmm.
prices and put markup on those materials, right? That
Mm-hmm.
takes time. I can't blame him for that. Hopefully, he goes away and we have time to just look at a number and think about it amongst ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Now, with that mentality, I want to call that into question. Now, I almost feel like going, time out, Clay. You said something really interesting I want to call attention to.
Yeah, you should.
But the fact is that the customer may think that's the right way of making a purchase. They truly might, because that's what the industry has conditioned them to believe. You go, you get 3 estimates minimum. You then get the information, make no decisions, make no friends. Then you sit down with you and your spouse and you look at them and you go with the one you think is best. But because you don't know
Logical decision.
exactly, fully logical decision. But the problem is we've also been conditioned to make our presentations look like material ordering sheets. The customer has no idea what they're even buying. So as a result, if they don't know what they're buying and they're not educated on how it serves them or how it's relevant to them, it makes sense that they're going to buy the cheapest thing.
You know what?
It just
It just occurred to me we might not even know what the hell we're talking about. Maybe it isn't truly people do business with who they know, like, and trust. Maybe it's they do business with who's cheapest, most thorough in their number presentation, and leaves the quickest.
that just broke my soul, Clay. I don't know if you noticed. Like I'm sitting there like, what kind of heresy are you talking about?
I'm sorry about that. I hope you picked up on the satire there. I don't think that's how the saying goes. Know, like, and trust have nothing to do with the number presented.
Mhm,
But yet we all seem to accept that that's true.
mhm.
Well, why?
I honestly think that we've associated being able to blame something else so that we don't have to take the responsibility. And let me explain why that is.
You just blew my mind.
So if you're someone, let's break down what liked, trust, and respected is. That means that they look at you and they're like, you know what? Maybe I won't work with this guy, but I like him. I can have a beer with him. I feel like we could talk. We can at least talk. They gotta like you. They have to trust you. This person isn't just looking to see my panel so they can find things that are going to upsell me. They're trying to look at my panel because they want to ensure that they're safe and that I'm safe. And respect. They have to know that they have an understanding at the very least that you can solve their problem. And at the very least, they respect you having the knowledge of doing so.
Hmm.
If you have all 3, it becomes easier to present some value because then you're not person saying, this is my number. You're saying, this is my service. Some people chase the number, others chase the service. I always believe to serve at the highest level and the money will follow. When you chase the money, it runs from you.
Yeah. And I got to plug our friends at Waste No Day. I think Brian just posted about doing an interview with someone, and they just covered a similar topic too about having, I like how he said it, cash goggles. And there was a picture where they're all wearing the $ glasses to
They're awesome
remind
over there.
themselves that that's not the goal.
Mhm.
We talk about money as a measurement of our performance, but truly, if it meant having a $1 million sales van and no reviews because everyone feels kind of naked when you're done, would that be worth it?
It wouldn't. Because the thing is that you can, Bob Marley said it perfectly. You can fool some people sometimes, but you cannot fool all the people all of the time. If you got $1 million per van, but your customers hated you, no 5-star reviews, no reviews at all, it won't matter if you had a $10 million van because eventually people are going to stop calling you. Because no reviews is actually worse than bad reviews.
Mm-hmm.
No reviews means that you're completely neutral about you. There's nothing that stands out.
I'm trying to even think about and imagine what that would look like. And basically, it's come down to this. Home service van rolls up in the driveway, pulls down a ski mask, pulls out a Glock. When you answer the door, he goes, take the silver, take the platinum. And that got a little bit morbid. I'm sorry for that. That's the only way I could see it happening.
It's okay. And it wouldn't be a Glock. It'd probably be a Tech 9 if he has a ski mask.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you for correcting that. I would need
No worries.
Americans' help to actually come to that conclusion, to be honest. And we're on dangerous ice here again. All right. So back to this. So the know, like, and trust is important.
Mhm.
We know that.
It's absolutely essential.
And if I'm going to the van, am I building know, like, or trust, or am I starting to deteriorate it?
It's absolutely deterioration. And it's because there's something known as time equity too. So this customer is in a situation where you left them almost on a precipice. Hey, I finished my diagnosis. I know everything that's going on. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to go sit in a dark room and have a cigarette, and I'm going to then come back with numbers, and you're going to have to believe me.
The old cigarette when you come up with the numbers too.
No, I
Or
mean, hey,
get some
numbers are
ash on the
stressful. I don't.
paper there by accident. Get a nice
We've all
nicotine
been.
smell about you. Get that smoke flowing through the van. Maybe roll a window down and let it bellow out.
Yeah,
Or do you do
I resent being a smoker. I resent being a smoker at times. I
or maybe you
know.
go with the hot box method. You don't want to see the smoke billowing out for a long period, so you keep your windows up. And then
Just
when
let it
you're
roll out.
done, you open the door and it's just like puff the
Yeah, I
magic
mean,
dragon.
for you to hotbox a car, you have to be smoking a long stogie or something like that. And cigarette won't do it, but I get it. I get the point. So the thing is that you're actually doing something as compromising the customer's time equity. Time equity is they've invested a certain amount of time working with you, right? Let's assume they follow our clock and it's the first 45 minutes. You've diagnosed, you've bonded, and now you're getting ready to give them a presentation. Normally, we should be planting ourselves at the table and furthering the relationship. But what you've done by stepping away is you've actually cut off the relationship. You built their dissonance so high, they need to know the answers, and then you just walked away. When you give someone a problem and you don't immediately offer a solution, this is what they're going to do. They're going to take their phone out and they're going to start typing in anything you mentioned. And that way, when you come back, suddenly now they're educated on all the parts and times and what Google says this should cost.
Yeah, price. Why not?
Like, why wouldn't they do it, right?
Yeah.
Because you left them with
ChatGPT
no other
says-
choice. Yeah, ChatGPT. Yeah, ChatGPT says this, but we left them no choice. We gave them the dissonance. It's a psychological principle. They're going to feel that feeling. I know I would. Most people would as well. But then if we don't follow through on it, they're left and they're going to have to find a way to fill that void on their own.
Sounds important. So let me ask you this just quick. If I'm listening to this and I'm on board, Joe, I want to come up with some options. I want to do this in person. But God, how am I going to come up with these numbers? Like I got to get numbers from either my price book or my supply house. How am I going to come up with options and prices in front of them while they're sitting there and staring at me? I don't know what to do when they're sitting there staring at me. Is this even possible?
I can tell you you're stitching the service rate, which we could do, and that's obviously a great way of going about it. But as far as the main question, which was how do we come up with options on the fly when they're staring at you? I want to completely pull the rug underneath and say you want them to be staring at you. It's a contrary thought that some people might not have. But the thing is that if they're there and they're with you, what does that show that their attention's on? Where is their priority? They're focused on you because they're invested in what you're doing. And you can control the conversation and where their thoughts go based on how you answer and ask certain questions. Go ahead.
Would you look them back in the eyes and say, you have great eyes?
I mean, I probably would not, because there might be a situation where they might be like, that's a little too forward.
I took a stab at it. Sorry. Okay.
Not bad.
Their attention's on us. This is actually a good thing. Yet our heart's racing. Maybe there's a flutter. You start to sweat, armpit check. You know what I mean? Like it's a hard spot, granted.
Because there's a lot of nerves that go behind it. But the reason why things are why we're nervous often is because we don't know the play, right? If you go in blind, you mentioned the shopping cart in the middle of the road. Cars are going back and forth in all directions. You have zero control. You're just hoping that someone's going to push you in the right direction. That's like the technician hoping the customer is going to push them in the right direction. We don't want that anymore.
Yeah.
What we can do instead is control the conversation. Can we jump into how?
Let's do it.
All right. So the first thing that we can do is sometimes customers will say they have like a laundry list. And you're sitting there like, what do I do? How do I figure out how to make 6 options? They've got 11 items on this laundry list. How do I break this down? That's actually the easiest setup possible. So you're looking through the list and be like, hey, Clay, I really appreciate the time that we have together. I felt like we've gotten along really well, but I want to make sure I'm serving you at the best possible level. Do you mind if I ask you some questions?
Yeah, go for it.
Now, I know you gave me this list, and thank you so much for doing that. I know you're trying to make our job easier. But my goal is I never want to feel like I'm risking offering you something that you don't immediately want. So do you mind if we just go through and figure out what the highest priority is? That way I can make sure that it's in present in everything we're doing.
Yeah. Okay, Joe.
So literally what we're going to do is we go through step by step. If you had to say what is the highest priority, if we had to do only one thing today, what would that one thing be?
Put the fire out.
Oh, okay, obviously. So the thing
Insert
is
humor. Sorry, I
yeah,
can't help
no, it's
myself.
okay. So we're going through this line. As they tell you what are the highest priority things, you start to mark them 1 through 6. They're physically feeding you your presentation. They're saying, if these things are included, I want that. At the bare minimum, I need this.
You know
They're
what?
literally telling you what your bottom option and top option should look like.
You are so
So,
clearly a sales bot, Joe. I love this tactic. I love that you would bring that up on a podcast and give that to people for free. Big flashing neon light here, guys. If you're not
mhm,
seeing it, this presentation isn't about you. That's why you shouldn't take it back to the shop. You don't have all the
mhm,
necessary pieces, the inputs. I'm an
mhm,
old control guy. I love inputs and outputs. If you want the better output here for a customer, they ought to be one of the inputs.
mhm. They need to be feeding this information. And you're 100% correct. So the first thing is great. We have our laundry list, we have our example handled. The second common thing that people say is I call them the parrots. The parrot is a kind of customer that stands and hovers behind you, just sitting on your shoulder, looking over at your numbers, just looking, just hovering, washing dishes, but looking at you like this while they're doing it.
Yeah.
Those kind of customers are actually great to work with as well. And the reason being is they're the kind of people who need a job. I'm not saying they're unemployed. I'm saying they need a task. The task is this: they want to help and they're interested, but they don't know how to contribute. So they're the ones that make small talk. They're the ones that try to ask you when you're going to be done. They're trying to get a gauge. What you can do is say, hey, Clay, I really, really appreciate the time. And honestly, I feel like you're the kind of person I could talk to all day. But I want to make sure that I'm serving you at the highest level. So I need to make sure I'm giving this my 100% attention. But you can actually help me with something if you wouldn't mind. Could I
Okay.
trouble you for a glass of water while I'm here?
Sure, Joe. I can do that for you.
Awesome. So now they're walking away for a moment, right? They're turning around, they're walking. You can double back down. When they come back, thank you so much, Clay. I really appreciate it. It's kind of you to want to give me this. Now, just giving you a heads up, I'm probably going to be anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes just because I want to sharpen my pencil and make sure I'm giving you the absolute best service I can for the best price that I can. Is it okay if I just come to you and let you know in about 10, 15 minutes I'll be done?
Yeah. Sounds
Right
fair.
there, you've given them a task. They fulfilled the task. You then praise them for the task, whatever it is, praised it for them. I don't care if it's, hey, the light's a little bright. Do you mind dimming it down a little? Thank you so much. That really is going to make this a lot easier. I appreciate you. And then give them a time frame. I'm going to be doing this for about this long because I'm trying to make sure I get the numbers as tight as I can, because I'm trying to serve you at the best level, because whatever your because is, reason, task, reason, because.
Love that.
Run the
Love
play.
that. What's the real purpose of that first task then?
The first task is almost a redirect, right? So it's honestly, I took it from more from a martial arts concept
Oh, really?
where when any kind of force is applied, it takes more force to push away. But instead, if you can take and redirect the force in the direction it was trying to go, you're using your opponent's strength against them. In this situation, I took it as the customer is enthusiastically pressing.
Mm,
They're pushing because they're so enthusiastic. They're curious. You've built interest, you've built desire. They want it. So they're going to try and get close. You're bringing them closer and then directing them out. If you guys can see the visual, I'm just taking and I'm redirecting out. Oh, thank you for the help. Here's a task. And then when they come back, you rotate away again.
yeah. I love that. And I can't help but think of almost the salespeople would call it a trial close, but you're almost confirming compliance a little bit. It's almost like, okay, I'm just going to give you a small task to go and help me with this one little thing. And in them saying yes, and then going and taking that activity, coming back, we've now proven that we're working together. It almost has
That's
that
actually
feeling
true.
to it.
There is. Do you know there's actually a psychological concept behind that?
Please enlighten us.
All right. So the thing is that we are people that work very similar to how computer programming works. You mentioned inputs and outputs,
Yeah.
right? The more consistent the input, the more consistent the output. If you can get someone to say yes for small things, it becomes significantly easier to continue that same trajectory. So the small task of, can I get some water? Can you dim the light? Something small does show compliance, but you're also meeting it with an equal reward. Small task, praise. Small task, praise. You just keep praising it. And what you're doing is you're psychologically influencing that you want the yes. And they're going to continue trying to give you the yes to meet that praise.
I love that. This is strikingly similar to training a dog, isn't it?
I mean, I wouldn't want to make the same comparison, but yes, the psychological
did.
concept does apply.
I just did.
It's almost the word you're looking is a Pavlov's dog. The concept of when he rang the bell, the dog would salivate.
Yep.
It is a similar concept because we're encouraging a yes, and then you're getting a yes, and then they're getting praise for the yes. So when they start to see how the yes will help, they'll get more validation from it.
Right.
Now, the thing is, this concept can actually work against you if it's done wrong. Because just like we can say getting more yeses leads to yeses, what do you think no's deliver?
More no's, more resistance.
No's deliver more of the same.
More divide.
No, we don't have prices ready for you today. No, we're just going to email it over to you. No, we don't offer financing. No, it starts to continue. I want this. They told me no. My response now is I'm not going to engage with the tech anymore because I asked for once, I got shot down. Very few people are willing to put themselves out twice. So regardless, if you're the kind of person that allows conversation to flow through and from you, you are automatically setting yourself up to be a person they can say yes to.
I love that, Joe. What a brilliant piece of information and strategy to put forward in any electrical business who's out there serving homeowners today. Value.
I'm grateful to
again.
serve.
We actually did another episode on this called Giving the Customer a Job, I believe.
Yes.
And that was a couple months back. So if you guys want more of that, we did a whole episode on just that. I'm going to stitch something else in right here. Are you a Tenacious D fan?
Oh my God, yes.
Jack Black?
Yes, Tenacious D knew the whole thing. We'll go off the top.
As you're saying this, I can't help but think that that's fucking teamwork.
I love it.
Yeah, I just sang to this podcast. If you guys know what I'm talking about, feel free to join us in the group and say exactly those words back to us. And we will all laugh and celebrate it together because that is fucking teamwork, Joe. And I love that. Getting on the same team with clients. I love that we don't need to feel this pull to the van. We don't need to run away. We don't need to email it over. And then we don't need to follow that email it over with like this paranoid thing that happens where it's like, did they take it? 24 hours, you're kind of like, oh, I'll give them some more space. 48 hours. Maybe I should check in. Oh, maybe I'll let my CRM check in. Maybe my CRM checked in and then I'll check in again. And you got people going, hey, we're not ready. I don't know what to tell you. Or you know what I mean? Not answering, ghosting. It gets worse and worse and worse. I'm sure there's some people out there listening to this that are like, yeah, we have felt that before. And it all starts with this, facing that one little piece. I don't know what to do when the customer is staring at me while coming up with options and how to come up with those options in that time. Joe, we got to have a couple action items for these guys today.
I have one. I've got one right off the top of my head. I don't know if it's an all-star or an action, but I think it's worth doing.
Let it fly, brother.
I want to know to my face. I want to know. And the reason why I want the know is, would you rather handle it while I'm here and at least have a chance of overcoming it, and then not having to do the email and the follow-up and the questions? Or would I rather get the answer while I'm there so that I at least have a chance of defending it?
Yeah. I like that.
That's the thing. The goal has to be that mentality. When you go to a call, you have two directions. You're either staying or you're going. If you're going and you're not following the 2-call close process and you're just going blind and going to email it over, you're screwing yourself. The problem that's going to end up happening is they, one, are less likely to buy. You're adding more work because you're going to have to go back and formulate a presentation to someone who wasn't going to buy, and then emailing someone who wasn't going to buy, and then following up with someone who's not going to buy. Just get the no right now. Just get the no. Ask for the no.
I love that. And I'm going to be able to tag right into that and saying, let's just all make a commitment not to email it over anymore.
All right.
Let's just not do it. Just don't. Like, really, what is that communicating? What? And let's back it up for a sec. What are the reasons you want to email it over? Because that's the exact thing it's communicating. I want to email it over because it's going to save me time. I wouldn't have to come back if we're talking a 2-call close. Okay. So I get it. As a consumer now, I get it. You want to email it over so that you don't have to come back and serve us again, see us again, talk to us again. I get that. In the interest of time, I understand that. Isn't that value depletion right there? Some people might see that as, oh no, he's doing us a favor because we don't have time for it either. Right?
My question is, if you don't have time for it, if they don't have time for it, then maybe this isn't the right time. Maybe we'd be better off just canceling the call. Because the last thing I'd ever want to do is feel like I'm pushing you to do something that you don't want. Why don't you just tell me no and we'll cancel the call right now?
I'm going to go on a limb here, Joe, and just say this without going too much further on it, because this is the action. It's no longer the podcast, right? Actions. I'm closing out. Don't email it over. Your conversions will go up. Mic drop. Done. Go talk to some people. Go help some people. Go serve at the highest level for a bit. Don't email it over. It takes extra time. Increase your price then. Make a business that goes and follows up and actually gives pricing in person. If you can do it on the first visit, do it. If it's a 2-call close, do it. But don't email it over. Go back. Talk to them. Explore their needs. Deal with this awkward moment. Get help like Joe suggested today. But please, please, please commit to no more emails. I don't even check emails. Emails are so annoying.
Okay. I have thousands of emails. Other than company emails, my personal email is maxed because we don't check it.
Yeah. Honestly, I think every day of the week, we've got a service provider probably in the inbox. It's like, hey, did you see the proposal? Did you see the quote I emailed over? Hey, did you see I emailed the invoice over? I'm sorry. Check emails like once a day. I didn't get to it yet. There's 180 of them. Other people got to be feeling me here. Don't tell me email is a tight place for communication. It's just not.
Yeah. It's where you send proposals to die.
Yeah, good one. Love that. Guys, I know that this episode can help you out, especially if you're dealing with that awkwardness of not knowing what to do when the customer is staring at you and you're trying to come up with some options, you poor guys. So please take what you learned here today, put it to use, and we're going to keep showing up for you. We're back on Monday next week with some brand new material for you guys as we help you master sales, simplify pricing, and deliver premium level electrical service. I am Clay Newmeyer, and this is my my laughing co-host, Joseph, the sales bot Lucani, strikes again today. Joe, thank you so much. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Can't wait to see you again next time.
Pleasure. See y'all later.